Andrew Luck of this show,
Right.
Unbelievable. Seth Joyner, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you. Can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
What's up, bro?
It's an honor. Thank you, sir, for popping on. We know that anything to take you away from golf is a major ask, so we thank you, sir, for the time.
You got it.
Bro, now they didn't believe me that you're in Pebble Beach, man, playing golf, man.
I
keep telling them that's. Oh, okay. I thought you guys didn't believe.
No, I
me,
believe
No,
it.
no, we believe it. We just didn't believe he would leave Pebble Beach,
right,
the golf course, to come join us.
I wouldn't ask him to.
Oh, y'all are catching me before my round today.
Oh, see, you said
That's
that,
what
Harry.
I thought.
You said
That's
that.
what I thought. You know, the last time I saw Seth in person, he didn't see me, but he was at Pine Valley on the 4th green, and I was on the 1st fairway, and I saw him through the trees. So I know he plays a lot of golf.
So, bro, so how'd you like the draft, man? How'd you like Howie in his pick?
Well, I just felt like Howie was in a position. He was in a position where he couldn't mess it up. You know what I'm saying? I like the fact that they moved back and got in front of the Giants, because I think the Giants wanted Smith, kind of teed off Gettleman a little bit, but all they had to do was just follow the script. Whether they stayed at 6, whether they stayed at 12, or whether they traded back, into the top 10 to make the move. And listen, I love the fact that they went and got DeVonta Smith. I'm not all that thrilled that the Eagles have drafted 12 wide receivers in the last 11 drafts. Hopefully they get this right, because you can't keep, spending that kind of draft capital on one position. But given what Jeffrey has said about, having a high-powered offense and an elite level offense, you had to believe that they were either going wide receiver or cornerback.
Does his slight build concern you at all?
No, because we don't. Football in the NFL doesn't play the way it was when Barrett and I played any longer. A blind shot across the middle, where a guy can't see you, that doesn't happen anymore. That's 15-yarder and a pink slip, in your locker on Tuesday morning, from the league. So, and a major fine. So I'm not worried about it. Plus, if a team is worried about that, then you scheme how to protect a guy like that. You don't put him, in certain routes unless it's man-to-man situations where you send him across the middle, or you send him in traffic. As a coaching staff, you have to be able to scheme that to protect your players. But, I agree with what he said. Hey, we're not lifting weights here. We ain't weightlifters. It's football. And, the kid's been playing football his entire life. I mean, he lit up the best division in college football, the best conference in college football last year, on his way, to a Heisman and a national championship. I mean, I think it's insane that people believe that, his size is going to prevent him from doing what he does. His job is to avoid people, run by people, score touchdowns. It's not to come up and tackle anybody.
Seth, in that same vein, do you think that the Eagles should even be looking at trying to add some weight on him, or use his natural abilities as he's currently gifted?
Well, when I think about Alabama, it's safe to say, I forget how many players they had drafted in the first round yesterday. Something like 5 or 6. I want to say 5 or 6 offensive players. They're being prepared for the next level, if you will, in Alabama. So these guys come to the NFL and they're ready to perform right now. If you use them correctly. Suffice to say that, if DeVonta's been there, 3-4 years, and he hadn't gained any weight in 3 or 4 years there, and during this time of his greatest growth physically, that, his metabolism just won't let him gain as much weight as everybody. Now, everyone would love for him to get to, 185, 190, but would that affect his ability to be fast twitch and do the things that he does? I don't know.
Well, I was up at the shop, man. I did a draft special at NBC Sports. So it was me, Ray, and DP Danny Palmels. We listened to afterwards the press conference, and they had Howie, they had Andy Waddell, and they had Sirianni there, coach, and they said some things to me that eye-opening, because you're a master at listening to what that organization says in press conference, which opens the doors 9 times out of 10 on what they're really thinking and what direction they're going. But they actually said that they want to stay on the draft board, focused on the draft board, not deviate from it, number one. Number two, they said that they listened to Andy Waddell and his staff, and, it was a premium of the information that they were, gathered for him. And then they said something that, two other things. They said that Nick Sirianni, they kind of wanted to make sure that we got players to help him. But then they also said, we listened to what Jalen Hurts said about the pick.
Seth, hold on one sec. I want to bring everything back on the radio, and then you have plenty of time to answer that.
On the SportsMap Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eitan Shander, Barrett Brooks, and Harry Mays.
Joined by Seth Joyner live on stream. The network, we're back as well, and paying attention, I hope, on the JAKIB Media YouTube page, phillyvoice.com/themiddle. In the break here, as more insight and nuggets from Seth. And right at the end, Barrett, you were just asking about sticking to the draft board and the mentality that the Eagles at least showed that they had last night. So just jumping in, Seth, feel free to take that any way you want.
So,
well, I don't, I said earlier, I don't think that Howie and anyone else on that staff could afford to have another draft where they missed in the first round. They just couldn't. So they were gonna follow the board. I mean, it hasn't been rocket science, and yesterday wasn't rocket science. It's all about them taking the best available player, at the position where they felt like they needed the most help. And that was on the offensive side of the ball. That was DeVonta Smith. As far as, this collaborative thing that, they keep talking about, they've been talking about that ever since, Doug got fired, Howie's first press conference, Jeffrey's press conference. They talked about collaboration between everybody involved. You're starting to see not only Howie just in these press conferences, you're starting to see other people, because they're trying to paint the picture of collaboration. But at the end of the day, somebody's got to make the darn call. Somebody's got to say, okay, we're taking this guy, we're taking that guy. And then somebody has to be accountable for that. There's nothing wrong with collaboration. I think all great organizations have collaboration, but your decision maker needs to step out and say, okay, this is the decision that we made. Okay. And his job has to either hang in the balance, or he needs to be extended because of the great job that he did because of his people behind him. That's the way, that the hierarchy, really works. But I think that, everybody's been calling for Howie's neck for the last 2 years, and you're never going to get it because of collaboration.
What did you think about the other three teams in the NFC East? Of course, Dallas trades with the Eagles, and they get the guy they could have taken at 10, but then they get an extra third-round pick and get Parsons at 12. And the Giants, of course, wanted the receiver the Eagles got, but they ended up getting a decent receiver and a couple of picks in Kadarius Toney, and the Washington football team got another nice linebacker, Jamin Davis.
Well, I think of the three, the Cowboys pick scares me the most. I really love Micah Parsons, man. I really do. I think that this kid is like Ray Lewis-esque. He's like Luke Kuechly-esque. When you draft players like that, they have the ability to change the mentality and the mental state of the entire defense. Just because he's going to bring such an intensity level to that defense that it's going to affect everybody else on the defense. They're all going to have to raise their level of competition, and the expectations are going to rise as well, because they're going to turn on the film and you're going to watch this guy running all over the place. Then it's going to create major competition if they don't wind up moving one of those other two linebackers because of, drafted him so high. I think they like having three because, just in case you get one guy hurt, you don't really have a major drop off, and to be honest with you, no one in the NFL except for offensive linemen play 100% of the snaps anymore. So they want to keep those guys fresh, but it creates a lot of competition at that position because those, you got Jalen Smith and Van Der Esch. Those two guys are going to be like, man, look at this young dude, balling. So they're going to be competing for playing time. And then you turn on the film and everybody else, the secondary and the defensive line, they're like, my goodness, look at this kid is just all over the place. So that raises the level of everything. It changes, the defense. Now they got to go out and get some more players to improve the defensive side of the ball, but I think he's a big piece in getting that done. I think the Giants reached, because they got pissed at the Eagles for, snatching their guy ahead of them. Mm-hmm. But I do like Kadarius Toney. I think he's a great player. Just not at that spot. Yep. I thought he was a day two guy.
I did also.
And as far as Washington, I guess they picking so late, what they really needed was a quarterback.
Yep.
They really need to draft a quarterback. So I think that they're, nothing wrong with them going to get the linebacker if they needed him, if they liked him. But I think at the end of the day, what's going to wind up happening is that they're going to continue to get better because of their defense. But they're still going to have a lot of inefficiencies because they got to go get that quarterback. And I'm not so sure that guy's in next year's draft or even, later rounds this year.
That's infuriating, right? Because you lay out everything about Micah Parsons, and it's not just the impact of what he's doing on the field himself, but it's the multiple levels of the defense that he impacts. And we're back to, the Eagles probably didn't even look at him because they devalue that position so much, especially early in the first round. And they go back to what you said in the beginning, the same well of a position that they have failed at more often than not. No knock on DeVonta Smith. I love the fact that they got DeVonta Smith, but history is working against Roseman and Lurie in that capacity, yet they refuse to open up and at least admit, Seth, that they've overlooked and devalued positions of need, specifically that when you have somebody like Parsons and countless of others that they've passed up in the first round.
Well, and listen, I can't blame Howie all by himself because, he was trained by the guy that thought that way. Joe Banner never put any stock into drafting linebackers, and not that, I didn't expect for the Eagles to take him. I knew that he'd be a day one guy. I didn't expect for the Eagles to take him, but, this consistent, lack of respect for the position, especially in today's defense where, you're only primarily, you're lucky if you've got two linebackers on the field. So you can ill afford to have guys out there playing the linebacker position that aren't just pure hell raisers because you only got two and there's so much more for them to do. They got to cover. They got to, be able to, drop in the zone. They got to be able to, play the run. They got to be able to blitz. And if you got one linebacker that's starting that's deficient in any of those, then you got a problem. And I get it, it's hard to find guys like that, but at the end of the day, the Eagles are all about scoring. It's interesting because I had Sterling Sharp on my show last week, and I asked him, a la the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is the Big Five, is in the Power Five conference. It's, the Pac-12 is just, we're going to outscore everybody. 51-53, 45-42. Every single week. Nobody plays any defense. I asked him, I said, is that where the NFL is actually heading? And he said, you can see it all over the place. You can see it by the way, spread offenses, the quarterbacks that are drafted, 5 quarterbacks, in the top 15 picks this year, the wide receivers that are taken. Teams are just moving to a point now where, and like Jeffrey believes that, the way that the Eagles are going to win another Super Bowl is with offensive explosiveness. He doesn't think that, defense wins championships anymore. There's a lot of people out there that think that way, but I tell you what, you go look at this past Super Bowl and go tell Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that, because if that defense doesn't play the way that it played, and they don't have a running game the way that they ran the football. Listen, Tom Brady threw for 200 yards. Okay, 200 yards. Those two running backs ran for over 150-something yards. That defense did something to Kansas City that hasn't been done since Patrick Mahomes, was the starting quarterback. And everybody wants to say, the tackles. I don't give a rat's what about the tackles. The next guy got to step up and play.
Mm-hmm.
I would suffice to say that the way that defense played, the way that those linebackers played, they were going to do that even if, the starting tackles were in that game. That was going to happen. They held Patrick Mahomes to 3 field goals.
Yep.
Okay. So don't tell me, don't tell me that defense, doesn't still win championships or it's not important, because at some point in time, no matter how many points you score, at some point in time, you're going to have to be able to stop somebody, So the lack of respect by, everyone in the Eagles brass as far as defense is concerned, it befuddles me, and now they got time to get it right, because I think that they're going to be a middle of the pack, team in overall capacity this year. And they're going to have some serious draft capital next year to maybe reshape and remold the defense, if they're willing to spend it on the defensive side of the ball, that is.
I don't know about that, because, you look at right now, I think cornerback is up next. I think they pick a cornerback in the second round, but I'm anxious. Yeah, cornerback. I think
they're going to take a quarterback today?
No, corner.
Corner.
Oh, corner.
Yeah, corner. I think he'll get a corner.
I was about to come unhinged over here.
No, Seth, he said quarterback. He said pass. Yes, quarterback.
We were on air. We were on air last year, and he became unhinged when they picked Jalen Hurts. He said, "What?" We were on live. He said, "What are we doing?" He went off. But this situation, man, even at the linebacker position, Nick Bolton is a game changer. Talking about a guy with an attitude. You take Parsons and add, a little more attitude to it, you'll get Bolton. I can't see them doing it, but if they got him, just like you said, that could change how you play the defense. And with this new defensive coordinator, he had great linebackers when he was in Minnesota. And then when he finally gets to Indianapolis, it wasn't until you got Darius Leonard, that it changed the outlook on how they play defense. I hope that they see and take a book out of that page to really show that you got to have a boss linebacker in there. It's not like looking at a linebacker like, all right, there goes Seth Joyner over there. I got to figure out a way to block him, because if we don't block him, he's going to make every play for -1 or -2 yards. So we got to find a way to block him. We don't have that on this team. You could double team those guys up front all day, because they know the linebackers aren't going to make a significant play, behind the line of scrimmage. And they don't have that. Bolton can be that guy. But, that's just me wishing on a star.
You guys overlapped. Did you ever go up against each other?
Yeah, we played it. He was with the Cardinals then. He was with the Cardinals.
Dare I ask who won that battle?
We didn't go against each other, really.
Oh, that's what I was asking. If you ever picked up on a blitz or anything like that.
No, well, I was running towards him, and I looked like I was going to cut him. I wish you would cut me. Yes, that's what he said. I wish you would cut me. That ball way over there, man. And then his boy came over, pushed me from behind. I'm like, come on, man. Come on.
Oh, man. Everybody hold tight. We got to wrap the hour coming up next on the network. Live with Seth Joyner here. It's the middle. Oh, man. You could hear that. You could hear his voice cut sharp across the field. Is that what you're telling us?
Oh, man. I was just about to cut him because the play was way over there. And I was going, he's like, I wish you would cut me. And this boy, I think it was Clyde came and pushed me from behind, like, ugh. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Well, yeah, that's the old connect that went out to Arizona, man.
You gotta treat the young guys like young guys, man.
It was my rookie year too. And we just played Tampa Bay the week before, and I was cussing at Hardy Nickerson. And in the midst of me cussing, he turns around, rookie, get your butt over there. You better not say one more word. And as I'm walking back, Guy McIntyre said, hey, man, you better be quiet. You better be quiet. I looked at him like, man, the next play, I pulled around on a counter tray. And when I pulled around the counter, I turned too late. When I say I turned too late, he caught me right up underneath my arm. Right up there. I'm running like this, and he caught me right there. Bam. I didn't fall like this. My body went straight like this. Bam. Right on the ground. I was like, yo. I said, from that point on, I just played ball. No more talk. Just play ball. Just play ball.
Oh, man. That's hilarious.
What'd you think about Fields going to the Bears, Seth? You think a lot of quarterbacks go there to die, they say. Is that a good spot for him?
I think so. Whether Nagy lasts there or not, I think, long term, that's a good spot for him. I think he's going to be uber motivated to, prove how many got it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, here's a guy that was, ranked number 2 out of the 5 quarterbacks, and his precipitous fall just really blew me away.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I think the kid can spin it. I think he's smart. He's played in a system that's somewhat of a pro system.
He's tough too.
He's had some bad games here or there, but what quarterback hasn't? So I'm excited for him because I want to see how he develops. I know what I don't know what it is to fall, from 2 to 3 in the first round to what is it, 12 or 11 or 12.
11, yeah.
But I know what it's like, for 30 teams to pass over you 7 times, and I know what kind of chip that forms on your shoulders, that makes you want to go out and prove that, those prognosticators who think they know what the hell they're talking about really don't know what the heck they're talking about. So I'm excited to see, him grow, and I hope that he just keeps his mouth shut and goes about his business. I hope he doesn't pull, a Josh Rosen,
Oh, yeah.
And, 9 teams out there made a mistake. Shut up and just go play.
Here's Eitan Shander, Barrett Brooks, and Harry Mays.
Final couple of minutes this hour here, live on the stream, back on the network, joined by the great Seth Joyner, from old talks to current reaction to the draft, and talking about Justin Fields. I feel like there's been so much of the gloss over, right? Because we knew, worst kept secret, Urban Meyer and company down in Jacksonville were going to take Trevor Lawrence. How about another kid, Barrett Brooks? I wish we had this just to run it back real quick because it was live earlier this hour. But Seth, Barrett went in on Zach Wilson, and I'm sure he's had a conversation or two with you about Zach and his thoughts on it, but it kind of took Harry and I by surprise because that's not normally Barrett just to tear into somebody, but he went in hard on Zach and I'm not going to put words in his mouth, but doesn't feel like Zach's going to pan out. We talked so much about Trevor Lawrence leading up and then finally kind of disengaged because it was a foregone conclusion, but what are your thoughts on Zach Wilson now with the Jets?
Well, listen, I was surprised that he moved up the draft boards the way that he did. When you can't discount, what he's done during his period of time at BYU. But you got to look at the talent level that he's played against. You got to look at, his body of work in comparison, to the other quarterbacks. I'm actually shocked that, both he and Trey Lance had moved up the way that they moved up. But, time will tell. I mean, I listen, I don't know what the criteria is, in the NFL. Obviously, you look at these guys, all of these guys can spin it. You look at their pro days, they all can throw the ball. I think a lot of it comes down to, when these teams have an opportunity to sit down with these guys and have conversations with them and get them up on the board and get an idea of what their football acumen is. I think that in a lot of situations, that's the difference. I think you also have some teams that are afraid to make a mistake. They're afraid to go outside of the box. Howie's not been that kind of GM for the last 3 or 4 years. He'll go outside the box and try something different, and take the heat for it. But you got a lot of GMs that's like, okay, these are the top 5 quarterbacks. Okay, we need a quarterback. This is the guy we want. It's just interesting to me. I mean, I don't have anything against Zach Wilson. I don't think Barrett does either.
Right.
But it'll come down to, his development. Is he in a good place with a good guy that can get him developed? You look at Trey Lance, it'll be the same situation. I kind of scratch my head a little bit at that pick as well. But when you take into consideration, he only played 2 games this year, before their season was over. I don't know, I think 13 total games or something like that, from the previous year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a body of work. And, sometimes it's worked out, for some guys, sometimes it hasn't. Mitchell Trubisky was one of those guys that only had 13 starts before the Bears moved up and took it. I personally would like to have a guy who has had a long track record. I'm not looking for perfection. I think you can learn a lot about a quarterback in terms of, how well he does when things go sideways. And how he reacts. I mean, you take a guy like Trevor Lawrence. I mean, would this guy lose 2 games in 3 years?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we even know how he reacts, when things go sideways.
Right.
I think we saw it a little bit last year. He didn't look all that great in the, in the championship series. When things got bad, I mean, he looked downright inept. But that's the first time that you've ever seen him where he's had to deal with true adversity. We've seen it with Justin Fields. We've seen it with Mac Jones. Mac Jones came in last year, a couple of years ago, in spot duty. I forget. I think it was Tua's last year.
Yeah,
he got in for a couple of plays. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just dealing with that pressure of how you deal with adversity. For me, that's going to be the biggest key in evaluating these guys, because they've been so successful, at the collegiate level. How are they going to deal with not having success or not being successful? And it's going to come early in their career, each and every one of them. How do they deal with that adversity? It to me is the biggest question. And who's hardwired, to overcome it more than the next guy?
That's key right there. Can you overcome adversity? What do you do in adversity? You know what I'm saying? So, man.
I feel like we've kept Seth a little
I
bit.
appreciate you, bro. Thanks for stepping on.
We'll keep you until, this is what we normally do, is just keep people on and have conversations. But you're the last person that the 3 of us want to piss off, because we'll run into you at some point in Philly, and that's not going to be good.
And got that tea time too.
Time.
Yeah.
Go on, enjoy life.
Listen, that's what I do, man. I talk about football. You know that.
Yep.
Where you playing today?
You tell me 15 minutes if you want to. It'll turn into an hour if you don't cut me off.
You playing Spyglass or Pebble today? Which one?
I'm playing Pebble today. We played the Preserve the day before yesterday. And we played Pebble yesterday, ate everybody's lunch. We got Pebble again today.
Beautiful.
I don't play Spyglass, man. Spyglass
that's
Hill.
Tough. Really tough.
I don't like that golf course.
Hey, real quick on the way out, and maybe 20, 30 seconds, if there's anybody that the stream was curious about linebackers, if you've looked at a linebacker or two.
Well, the kid from Notre Dame, they're really curious about Karamo, Owusu Karamo.
I hope he falls to him. I mean, I like him. Of all the guys that are left, I really like him. He's almost I'm trying to remember the guy the kid that the Cardinals had a couple of years ago. He was actually a DB, but they
Buda Baker.
played and they plugged him in at linebacker.
Buda Baker.
Say it again, Barrett.
Buda Baker.
No, he was before Buda.
Okay.
Not Adrian Wilson.
No.
Not Reddick.
No.
This is a more
His name is. Say it.
more recent, Seth.
Yeah, this is like maybe 6
Yeah.
7 years
And I
ago.
mean, and he was just straight balling, man. I mean, they put him in a situation where they really where they protected him, and he played strictly linebacker, and he was a safety.
I remember that. They call that a monster back when you like in high school. You know what I mean? Monster back.
but the kid from Notre Dame, I think I was looking at his numbers the other day. I don't think he weighs but like 200 and
212, 15.
Yeah, 215 to 218 pounds. Now, he plays with an attitude, but you're stepping up a level. Can you and maybe that's where the linebackers in the NFL are going to a certain extent. I don't think you're going to see linebackers, like me, 240, 245 pounds, anymore in the NFL. They're moving towards guys that can run, guys that, can operate in space, that are agile. So, my only problem with that is, trying to play the run at 218 pounds. Micah Parsons ain't no 218 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
My man be bringing the funk, but if they can figure out a way to get some weight on him, I like him because, I mean, he has all the intangibles. He's got instincts. He's got speed, his ability to recognize what's going on, early in the snap, when he gets to the ball, comes with a lot of attitude. He's a hitter and knows how to tackle the proper way. So, I would love for them to make that move, but man, I'm telling you, the Eagles ain't gonna draft. They're not gonna draft no linebacker to the third, to the fourth or fifth round, man. And by that time, all the ones that really gonna make it, that could make a difference,
they're gone.
Right.
And I would venture to say that they might not even draft a linebacker at all, because think about it.
Seth,
They've got,
hold on one
you got the ascension.
Hold
on one sec. Sorry.
Hold up.
Rocket can.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Eitan Shander, Barrett Brooks, and Harry Mays.
Seth Joyner still with us in the house before his tea time, so we appreciate it as many minutes as we can get here. And the conversation shifted to linebacker. Of course, the stream was heavily interested in a couple, the biggest name from Notre Dame. So, Seth, as we come back, I know you were just ending that point about deflating everybody right there at the end. You build up about the linebackers, the talent, and the impact they can make on the game. And then right there at the end, right before we come back on the network, you drop in the dose of reality that just is the haymaker, which is the Eagles ain't drafted them anyway.
Yeah, you're right. That's Deion
Buchanan. Yeah. It was like 7-8 years ago.
Yep, number 20. Yep.
Well, so when you think about it, the Eagles signed a linebacker in free agency.
Yep.
Okay.
Wilson.
You got Alex Singleton, who kind of emerged last year.
Yep.
And then you got the two young guys, they drafted last year that didn't get any playing time at all.
Bradley and
Davion Taylor.
Yep.
Davion Taylor and Sean Bradley.
We like him. I like him a little bit.
Listen, it's not that far out of the realm of thought that the Eagles might not draft a linebacker at all. They may feel like, hey, we've got enough competition at that position right now. Let's see how it plays out. And if we need to, draft in the early rounds next year with all the draft capital that they'll have, maybe they'll find it in their hearts, if you will, to draft a linebacker high next year. But it's just nothing surprises me when it comes to that position with this organization right now. They just don't see any importance in it, and it shows up each and every game.
Mm-hmm.
How important it really is when you got, safeties converted to linebackers trying to cover guys, and you got guys that are backups or special teams players playing at that position, and they're trying to cover guys down the field. I mean, it's right there for everybody to see and for everybody to analyze and say that, you know what, they need a playmaker there, but everyone can see it except for them.
We got to break real quick. Seth, if you want to hang, we love you. If not, go on and enjoy your day. We'll be back in 3. Thanks again. Stick it here.
Missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel? Listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.